This news program is proudly brought to you by Smart Start Breakfast Biscuits and Now Biscuits.
PM Marape urges public servants to do their jobs. Gardening encouraged for El Nino period. And PM assures support to dropouts. A very good evening. This is National EMTV News. I'm Louis Maingu. Thank you for joining us. We begin with public servants in NCD and around the country have been told to do their jobs well as they are paid to do so. This was the statement made by Prime Minister James Marape at the 8th Public Service Dedication Service at Sir John Guy Stadium today.
Whilst given the honor to address the public servants at the 8th Public Service Dedication Service today, Prime Minister James Marape gave a brief report from the Secretary for Personal Management, Tyus Sansan, on how many public servants are currently employed and earn a salary in the country, and how many have retired last year.
We were paid 4.72 billion kina. I want you all to grab your calculators. Just pick up your phone and let's look at it. I know I did this 36 in one or two similar cases back, but repetition is for emphasis.
Marape points out that the major body that takes care of most government departments and state agencies in the country is the Department of Public Services.
So the major employer in the is the National Public Service at 133,802, you and me, all of us put together.
Chairman for the Body of Christ, Reverend Joseph Walters, urges the public servants present not to take God's word for granted and be responsible to serve the people of the country, emphasizing that it is not right to be lazy and still be rewarded for that. Prime Minister Marape urges that public servants do their jobs well so that even those in the provinces and rural areas will follow suit and the people of the country will be served.
The guilt is that, am I doing enough for the pay my country pays me? Am I doing enough for the privilege I am already accorded to? Am I doing my best for the country, or is there any more room for improvement?
Minister for Public Services Joe Sungi reveals that there are 133,802 public servants serving in 129 government agencies in the country who are getting paid by the government, and urges these public servants to change their bad habits of poor dressing, laziness, poor attendance, bad behavior and careless attitudes, seeking favors, and not serving to the expectations of the positions they hold. Francisca Anania, National EMTV News.
With the onset of El Nino and prolonged dry period to hit its highest peak in March of this year, Food and Agriculture Organization has implemented for the first time in Papua New Guinea an anticipatory action program. FAO's National Nutrition Focal Point Officer Lazarus Dawa reveals this in an interview with EMTV Today.
FAO, in collaboration with National Weather Services, National Department of Agriculture and Livestock, and Provincial Division of Agriculture and Livestock, have already started the pilot program in Western Province around December last year.
We started the early actions and anticipatory actions in Western Province. We're looking also to scaling up to Southern Islands or either Western Islands Province. Through working with the communities, how do they prepare for the upcoming drought? So through weather information and information from weather services, we're reaching out to communities.
Mr. Dawa stresses that the government tend to commit funds when disasters are already at its high impact and that is too late. Therefore, funds for early actions and warnings must be put aside to prepare communities for predicted disasters.
For disasters that we can easily predict with the current, technology that we have, the advancement in forecasting, that we can advocate that there can be some funding that can be put aside for early action and early warning to prepare the communities before, especially even not for drought only, but for flood and volcanic eruption as well.
Dawa reveals that FAO is working together with communities to prepare them before the dry period hits, as per the weather forecast report.
We're working with them with the water conservation, also to promote what food can be grown early, mature early, what foods can be grown with limited water as well. We call it drought-tolerant crops. Also different types of processing and technologies with food preservation, food processing, so that even they can harvest their crops, but they can still process them into different kinds of food, and they can preserve them and consume them when the food supplies are becoming limited. And also, different cropping management practices, especially with mulching, intercropping, so that communities are able to support and sustain themselves before the high peak impact period comes in when we reach the dry season.
Mr. Dawa says FAO is also working with government partners to seek support to help communities, especially with the Department of Agriculture and Livestock at both national and provincial levels. Malinta Yopolo, National EMTV News.
Meanwhile, FAO, through its intervention and program with the community, is encouraging backyard gardening of vegetables for survival during the forecasted El Nino and dry period.
Mr. Dawa encouraged communities, especially those in the remote areas, to do gardens close by or closer to water sources so they can retain food supplies.
Usually during drought, gardens that are furthest to the homes dry up quickly, and then they also walk some distance to fetch water. So having garden beside your homes where you can grow, vegetables during drought to sustain your family is the strategy that we are also looking forward to advocate to the communities. So they make gardens closer to the water sources. If they have main rivers, they make gardens closer to it. Not only gardens, but also preserve some planting materials.
Dawa stressed that water conservation, preservation and harvesting is crucial as the country will be facing dry season as per the weather forecast.
According to the National Weather Service, we have certain areas in the country that are under drought watch, which is the southern parts of the Western Province, the Milne Bay areas, the Ella Province, parts of West Ella Province. As per the climate data, they are still under drought watch. So since they have started experiencing drought since last year towards summer, it will already impact on the water supplies and quantity, and also the food supplies. We have to get a message out to the community that water conservation and preservation and harvesting at this time is crucial as we lead into the commencing of the dry season in March onwards.
Malinta Yopolo, National EMTV News.
Prime Minister James Marape, in a press conference after the public service dedication service at St. John Guy's Indoor Stadium, gives insight on the increase in the available spaces in tertiary institutions and the pathways set by the government to assist school dropouts.
The Prime Minister said for the last 20 years, the number of school dropouts have increased steadily due to factors such as limited spaces in tertiary institutions.
From the 1991 education reform, we've created over 4 million Papua New Guineans under the age of 50, or 40 rather, or 50, who are half educated, that's left grade 8, left grade 10, left grade 12, or even university and colleges, not in engagements especially economic engagements in our country.
Therefore, the government is now looking at creating other avenues for those who do not meet the requirements to continue studies in tertiary institutions.
And so we want to mobilize the youth for second chance learning, SME, the seasonal workforce in Australia. We're looking at opening doors to USA, UK, New Zealand, as well as linking them to the SME programs. And I've made commitment to relook at the SME policy. We will work not just with BSP and NDB, but other lenders in our country, especially women in microbank and other small lenders, on how best for us to flood the financial lending market with soft finance and lending facilities for us youths and citizens to get engaged in SMEs right across our country.
Apart from creating avenues for students and youths, Prime Minister Marape highlighted on other initiatives that the government has implemented to help parents and students, such as the Higher Education Loan Program or HELP.
35,000 university students and college students has been assisted through a new program, the Higher Education Loan Program, that we've rolled out since 2020. So many work has been taking place. The team here led by Chief Secretary will review what has taken place. Under my watch, we expect everyone to work and deliver.
Edson Kuso, National EMTV News.
In what will seem as an historic moment for PNG and Australia, Prime Minister James Marape is ready to address the Australian Parliament next month upon Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese's invitation.
Australia and Papua New Guinea have shared history. It has been a history that even beyond the establishment of the two sovereignties, the original Australians and original Papua New Guineans have been living here thousands of years. The biggest plate tectonics that anchor our country, the Australasian plate is half of this country is linked to the Australasian plate. So we joined the hips, and I'm privileged that at my time that offer to address Australian Parliament has been given. We will re-echo our closeness and also ensure that our two nations' sovereignty interests doesn't overstep on each other. We work in symphony for the common interests of our shared region.
National EMTV News continues after the break. Welcome back to National EMTV News. Construction has recommenced on the proposed 12 million kina Mosby South District hospitals, with a 3 million kina fit out similar in standard to an international hospital. The hospital is expected to be completed by July this year.
Member for Mosby South Justin Chachenko says the project planned for completion in December last year was altered due to a court order by landowners from Mahuru village disputing the land on which the hospital sits on. He states that they have been going to court for the last 8 months, which has interrupted the progress and completion of the hospital. However, NCDC and Mosby South won the court case recently and construction has recommenced. The court identified that the land the hospital sits on belongs to the Department of Education and it is a state land. Mr. Chachenko says the hospital will cater for an 8-bed maternity ward, emergency center, 10-bed inpatient, dental clinic, X-ray unit, a pharmacy and antenatal clinic, offices and conference rooms. Chachenko says this is the first district hospital of its kind in the city with a stunning and well-designed structure. He says his electorate is working with the health department to engage top-ranking doctors, nurses and health workers to ensure that the hospital is fully operated by professionals and qualified Papua New Guineans. The MP adds that 2 doctors' houses will be built behind the hospital premises as well as a nursing quarters with backup generator and good water supply.
The hospital will have doctors living on site 24 hours, and St. John's Ambulance will be allocated the space to serve the people. Gladys Gila, National EMTV News.
The 2024 academic year will commence on Monday, the 22nd of January. Education Secretary Dr. Uke Kombra has announced that Term 1 in 2024 will begin for teachers, head teachers, principals and heads of all institutions on Monday, 22 January, while students will resume classes on Monday, the 29th of January.
The Secretary for Education notes that the academic calendar is set for 2024, with the national examinations scheduled to kick off with the written expression exam for lower secondary on the 6th of June this year. The calendar outlines that the close of school year for 2024 is the 6th of December. The theme for this year's academic year is Transform Teaching and Learning to Achieve Quality Education for All. Dr. Combra says the National Education Plan for 2022-2029 focus area number 5 states that in order for quality education to be achieved, the curriculum to be used must be current and appropriate. Sufficient textbooks must be produced, procured and distributed to all schools in order to achieve the one textbook per child policy. He assured that a sustainable national examination and assessment system has been established for use in all schools, and schools will be able to access teaching and learning materials electronically, utilizing appropriate technology. Adding on, Dr. Combra says the National Education Plan also takes into account the PNG Education Transformation Vision 2075. The Secretary for Education calls on all the continuing students, teachers, parents and guardians to observe the term dates, especially the dates for the start of the 2024 school year. Natasha Voy, National EMTV News.
A deceased man from Vanimo in West Sepik has been drawn as the lucky winner for the Isuzu NPR giveaway promotion, which ran from September to December last year by Boroko Motors. The deceased Ian Bongsai bought an Isuzu NPR last September, but has not received his truck yet when he had passed on. Boroko Motors senior sales consultant Thomas Michael says they will give the truck to the family once they get clearance from the curator's office to declare the next of kin. There were 190 entries nationwide for the Isuzu NPR promotion, where customers who bought an Isuzu NPR went into the nationwide promotion to win another Isuzu NPR for each region. Boroko Motors tire manager Dennis Sito says there were 47 entries from Omase region. The Isuzu NPR cost 150,000 kina, excluding its housing for PMV purposes. Former Vice-Chancellor of the University of Papua New Guinea, Professor Frank Griffin, adds regional body Coral Triangle Initiative on coral reefs, fisheries and food security. This is a multilateral partnership of 6 countries working together to sustain extraordinary marine and coastal resources by addressing crucial issues such as food security, climate change, and marine biodiversity.
Professor Griffin's resignation at the University of Papua New Guinea takes effect on the 29th of February this year, where he will take up his new role to head the regional secretariat based in Manado, Indonesia, for the next 4 years, and as per Staff Regulation 7 of the CTI-CFF Secretariat, the Executive Director shall be made to observe the principle of rotation in alphabetical order among CTI-CFF member states. In a statement, Professor Griffin states that the application was only open to PNG nationals, and it is PNG's stand to head the regional secretariat of CTI-CFF.
Been offered the position of Executive Director of the Regional Secretariat of the Coral Triangle Initiative on coral reefs, fisheries and food security. which, after careful consideration, I have accepted.
The Coral Triangle encompasses of 647 million hectares of land and sea and is located within the territories of Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Papua New Guinea, Solomon Islands, and Timor-Leste. The multilateral partnership in 2009 signed a declaration to protect the Coral Triangle and are committed to implementing the regional plan of action. Professor Griffin succeeded as an applicant for the position vacancy that was out on the 13th of September last year due to his credentials with a PhD in philosophy, MSc, bachelor and postgraduate diploma in science, and line of work in similar jobs and a vast network of professionals at the international and regional levels. Francisca Anania, National EMTV News.
Now we take a look at the Nest Fund market report. The kina closed lower at $0.2681 US in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.2606 US, 0.3855 Australian dollars, 0.2304 euro, and 37.31 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading higher, coffee closed lower, cocoa closed higher, copra closed higher, palm oil closed higher, crude oil is trading higher, and copper closed higher. On the stock market, the Dow Jones closed lower, the ASX 200 is trading lower, and the All Ordinaries is trading lower. National EMTV News continues after the break. Stay with us. You're watching National EMTV News. Moving to overseas news, a multi-million-dollar package has been announced by the Australian government aiming to entice travellers to return to far north Queensland after the tropical cyclone Jasper disaster.
The state and federal governments have announced reduced airfares and accommodation for those heading to the storm-ravaged region. It'll see $5 million invested to help tourism operators get back on their feet. Almost $300 million in holiday bookings were lost in December alone due to the cyclone and subsequent flooding. The Queensland Premier, Stephen Miles, says major airlines will offer low-cost fares directly to Cairns to support the region's economic recovery.
This is a big time of year for Cairns tourism, Cairns and Far North Queensland tourism. We saw $125 million worth of bookings cancelled just in that first few days as those photos of the flooding went viral around the world. And so we really need to get the message out to Australians first, but also around the world that Cairns and the state's Far North is open for business. As you can see, it's just beautiful. It's a fantastic part of the world. And if you're sitting in your lounge room now thinking about where you might go on holidays later in the school holidays or even at Easter or later in the year, really think about Cairns. We've got these discounted airfares so you can get here really quite cheaply, and there is just so much to do. It's a fantastic place to visit.
In a few days' time, Bangladesh citizens will head to polls to vote in the country's national election.
Soldiers are being deployed across the capital of Dhaka in the lead-up to a national election. Authorities say they're setting up temporary camps to help maintain peace and security. The military says troops will only act on requests from polling officers in an election that will test the country of 170 million. Current Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina seeks a fourth term. The 76-year-old has ruled the country for the last 15 years. Her main opposition, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, is boycotting the election. They want her to resign and for a neutral authority to run the polls instead.
I strongly believe the January 7 polls will be a one-party event. I'm saying this as a Bangladeshi citizen. Anyone would agree people want their rights to vote, but nothing else.
The BNP claim thousands of their staff were arrested after anti-government protests in October. A report by Human Rights Watch says at least 16 people, including 2 police officers, were killed at those protests.
The current situation in Bangladesh, the current government in Bangladesh, they don't want political dissent to be very strong political dissent against the government. What they believe in, they are fully looking at how they are going to stay in power.
Earlier this week, Nobel Peace Prize winner Muhammad Yunus was sentenced to 6 months in prison for labour law violations, charges he denies. The Nobel laureate and his company Grameen Telecom won the Peace Prize in 2006 for lifting millions out of poverty through microloans. His supporters are calling the case a politically motivated vendetta by the government. The 83-year-old is considered a political rival of Prime Minister Hasina. The nation votes on January 7.
Thousands of people have attended the funeral of the deputy leader of Hamas who was killed in Beirut by armed forces.
It was earlier this week that the deputy leader of Hamas, Salah al-Aruri, was killed in southern Beirut, a stronghold of the Lebanese militia group Hezbollah, in an apparent Israeli airstrike. In Beirut, thousands have attended his funeral in a show of defiance and unity against Israel. The Jewish state has neither confirmed nor denied that it assassinated the Hamas leader. But the attack in Beirut has sparked fears of a major escalation between Israel and Hezbollah, which until this stage has been supporting Hamas with small cross-border fire on the Israel-Lebanon border. Hezbollah officials attended al-Aruri's funeral after their leader promised there'd be retaliation on Israel, which Hamas has also promised.
The path of jihad and resistance is not without sacrifices, and martyrdom is the aspiration and hope of every fighter walking this path. This aggression will be met with a strong response from the resistance, one proportional to the heinous crime committed by the Zionist enemy, with all the power at its disposal and its supporters.
And inside Gaza, airstrikes have intensified in the south, including accusations that Israel has carried out several strikes in Rafah, an area that it had declared a so-called safe zone. Israel hasn't commented on the explosions. The Gaza Ministry of Health says the Palestinian death toll is now more than 22,000 people. That's almost 1% of Gaza's total population. And as this war is nearing the 3-month mark, there is growing concern that hostilities are spreading beyond Gaza and Israel to the West Bank, Lebanon and the Red Sea, the entirety of the Middle East region on increasingly high alert.
A team of 26 scientists set off on a voyage today on board the research vessel Investigator to carry out vital climate science in the Southern Ocean.
We'll be measuring ocean samples from all the depths of the ocean to understand the different properties of the ocean and track how that's changing. What's amazing about the Southern Ocean is that everything is interconnected, so we can't really understand how it all fits together unless we measure all the pieces. So we've got the physics, the biogeochemistry, the biology, and the atmosphere above. The Southern Ocean is the only ocean that connects all the other ocean basins, so it's critical to the redistribution of heat and nutrients around the entire globe. We're going out to measure from the ship to take direct measurements, which is absolutely crucial to understand the system. And what we'll also be deploying are a dozen deep diving robots that will sample the ocean from the sea surface all the way down to 6,000 meters every 10 days for up to about 5 years. And so they'll be really doing the hard yards. And it's, as you know, very difficult to get out on a ship. And so these robots will be observing the ocean in ways that were never possible until now. They dive down to the bottom and then they come up and drift around for about 10 days, coming back up to the sea surface, relaying the information to us via satellite, and then do it all over again. We've had it before, but only to 2,000 meters. And so there's a huge amount of ocean below 2,000 meters that these new robots are able to observe. What we know is that the Southern Ocean takes up a vast amount of heat and carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and stores it in the interior ocean for decades to up to millennia. That acts as effectively a handbrake on climate change and how we feel the effects of climate change on land. We don't know how that sink of carbon dioxide and heat into the Southern Ocean will change in the future, and that's one of the main things that we seek to understand on this voyage.
The United States has claimed that Russia has fired North Korean ballistic missiles into Ukraine. These claims by the United States is backed by new intelligence information received by the United States Security Council.
The US National Security Council says new intelligence suggests Pyongyang provided Russia with the missiles and launches recently, and they were fired in December. The Biden administration says it would impose additional sanctions against those facilitating arms deals with the Kremlin. Russia has recently launched some of its most intense strikes on Ukraine since the war began almost 2 years ago. And US officials say its recent arms purchases are troubling.
This is a significant and concerning escalation in the DPRK's support for Russia. Now, in return for its support, we assess that Pyongyang is seeking military assistance from Russia, including fighter aircraft, surface-to-air missiles, armored vehicles, ballistic missile production equipment or materials, and other advanced technologies. This would have concerning security implications for the Korean Peninsula and the Indo-Pacific region.
National MTV News continues after the break with Trukai Sports. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Prime Minister James Marape said the PNG Games has been postponed to September and will be held in many Southern Islands as planned because it is a way to open up the highlands to youths and the rest of Papua New Guinea.
Prime Minister Marape said the 8 PNG Games will be held in Mendi because others need to see the real people of Mendi and the islands despite the negativity portrayed by the media.
The Sports Federation will have their meeting on the 20th of January. They've given me indication that we would rally to have the games staged in Mendi. The idea in Mendi is simple. In one of the perceived hardest places in our country, we want the entire nation to see their own country. Especially the younger generation, those who will be playing in the sports, the young Papua New Guineans. Coastal Papua New Guineans is also interior of the country.
Marape said the focus is on youths of other regions and he encouraged them to take part in the PNG Games so that they can experience the authentic culture of the islands and become truly united as a nation.
The rest of the country needs to gel together, so we're using Mendi as an opportunity to bring New Guinea Islands, Bougainville, Papua, Mamase, rest of Highlands into a deep part of the Highlands PNG interior. And that's an opportune time to gel our national psyche, that one people, one nation, one country can blend, as we blend in the last 49 years, despite many of the challenges that we have lived with. So,
he further said he has spoken to his ministers and the games will be held during the school holiday period so student athletes can be able to participate. Edson Kuso, Trukai Sports.
The Western Highlands Governors Cup is nearing completion without any hiccups. The final 50-man squad games will be played at the Rabiamul Oval in Mount Again City.
In a briefing yesterday with the Governor for Western Highlands, Wairapa, all 12 coordinators for the Governors' Cup reported that the games ran as planned without any violence. Among them was Coordinator Samuel Maniat, making a mention that there were 182 teams for the games, making it the highest number of teams compared to other Governors' Cup competitions in the country.
Okay, problem start lots la. Akan bumi plan ni sa updating people so
But it's important that time midla starting time is schedule midla begin is schedule because budget midla organ no this la structure no double scap to all there's something I'm still on this la I'm budget I'm still schedule so beginning.
Governor Rapa commended the coordinators throughout the 12 venues for a job well done in the last 5 weeks. He added that the reason for hosting such games is to bring out the best talented players to select to take part in bigger competitions. Rapa announced that there will be some form of prizes at the district level before coming out to the Rabia Mul Oval for the finals. More than 1,800 youths took part in the competition all throughout the province. Governor Rapa further declared that there will be a women's competition soon after this to make sure that the spirit of rugby is still alive in the province. Francisca Anania, True Kai Sports.
The National Capital District Football Association launched its second round of soccer games today at St. John Guy Stadium following a festive season break. Several initial matches were forfeited due to team absence.
In the under-23 male category, Maukele FC triumphed over Allies FC, securing a 1-0 victory. Later, Southside FC faced off against New Look Baos FC in another under-23 match. Meanwhile, in the Women's Adult League, Valley Striker FC clashed with Pom South FC and Valley Striker FC competed against Maukele FC. Additionally, FC Collingwood took on Southside FC. The games are set to continue with more thrilling matches. James Cooken, Trukai Sports.
The Kokofa tournament kicked off with its under-13 and under-16 pre-season soccer games on Tuesday, continuing with the third match today at the Gordon Secondary School soccer field.
Organizing committee for Kokofa tournament Bruce Gigmay told EMTV that official season is scheduled to commence on the 8th of this month.
Okay, so the purpose of the tournament is basically to get the kids, our kids, 13 years old to 16 years old down, to get them involved, busy over the holidays, for the rest of the holidays, to get them to play and learn football. That's one. Two, to keep our school, the grass in the field area down.
Gigmay mentioned that 5 teams have already registered and they are expecting 5 more to join soon. He highlighted that these games are specifically organized to engage and entertain kids during the holiday period before the start of school term. James Goken, Trukai Sports.
Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
You're watching Trukai Sports. Moving to overseas sports. The Sydney Cricket Ground was a sea of pink today as cricket fans flooded the grounds ahead of the 16th annual Jane McGrath Day.
Fans are hoping for clear skies throughout Day 3 today. Play was halted yesterday due to poor light and rain. It's the 7th time rain has delayed play in the Sydney Test in the past 8 years. A short time ago, Australia was 2 for 149 in reply to Pakistan's first innings total of 313.
Former Australian T20 captain Aaron Finch has announced his retirement from the Big Bash League.
Finch has been with the Melbourne Renegades since day one and has called time on his career with a season to go in his BBL contract. The Renegades have won just one match this season and last night suffered a 6-wicket loss to fellow cellar dweller, the Hobart Hurricanes at Marvel Stadium. Aaron Finch will finish his career as the competition's second most prolific run scorer of all time.
In tennis, Rafael Nadal has continued his impressive return after a long injury layoff.
The 22-time Grand Slam title winner was far too good for Kubler, winning 6-1, 6-2 in just under an hour and a half. Nadal will next play another Australian, Jordan Thompson. In the women's draw, Australian Open champion Aryna Sabalenka dropped just one game in her straight sets win over Zhu Lin.
That ends True Kai Sports. The Money Plus weather report is next. Stay with us.
True Kai Sports. True Kai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by Money Plus, with you always.
The weather forecast for the next 24 hours. In the southern region, Port Moresby City, partly cloudy with few showers and possible thunderstorms. Daru, partly cloudy. Kerema, few showers. Alotau, partly cloudy with brief showers. And Popondetta, cloudy with few showers and possible thunderstorms. In the Momase region, Lay City, mostly fine and partly cloudy. Medeng, partly cloudy. Wewak, partly cloudy, and Vanimo, partly cloudy with few showers. In the New Guinea Islands region, in Lorengau, mostly fine and partly cloudy. Kavieng, partly cloudy with few shower or two. Kokopo and Rabaul, partly cloudy with few showers and possible thunderstorms. Kimbe, partly cloudy with few showers. Buka, partly cloudy with possible brief showers. In the Highlands region, Mount Again City, partly cloudy periods with few showers and possible thunderstorms. Goroka and Kundiawa, cloudy with few showers and possible thunderstorms. Mendi and Wabeg, cloudy periods with some rain showers and possible thunderstorms. Waters of southern PNG and Indonesian border, to Daru to Kiwai Islands, to Kerema, to Yule Island, to Wood Point, to Samarai Islands, seas 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Waters of Samarai Island to Cape Vogel, to eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, seas 0.5 to 1 meter. Waters of North Cape Vogel to Uan Gulf to Finterfen, seas 0.5 to 1 meter. Waters of Finterfen through Vitias and Dampier Strait to CRC and Long Island, seas 0.5 to 1 meter. Waters of Long Island to Medeng, to Wewak to Vanimo and northern PNG Indonesian border, seas 0.5 to 1 meter. Waters of Manus and its western group of islands, seas 0.5 to 1.3 meters. Waters of East and West New Britain to New Ireland, seas 0.5 to 1.3 meters. Waters of Bougainville, seas 0.5 to 1 meter. Ocean focused, Coral Sea, seas slight, southeast winds of 10 to 15 knots. Solomon Sea, seas slight, southeast to southwest winds of 5 to 15 knots. Bismarck Sea, seas smooth, northeast winds of 5 to 10 knots. And Pacific Ocean, seas smooth, northeast winds of 5 to 10 knots.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by Money Plus, with you always.
And that wraps up the news, sports, and weather for Friday, the 5th of January 2024. From all of us here, pleasant viewing. Bye for now.
This news program was proudly brought to you by Smart Start Breakfast Biscuits and Gold Nuggets.